Hello, welcome back to the PoddiMouths podcast. I am Peyton Cubic, and this is where my dad and his friend John talk about random stuff in life or the things they found on the internet. I hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as I did. Here they are now.
They literally call it window lighting.
Hence the name, because it's coming in through the window. And hey, I can turn this way. And now, whoa, that's my bad side, though. Let's do the good side.
Full frontal.
Let's not say full frontal anything.
Hey, you're the one who got on the podcast or got on the microphone when I was saying I'm clearing off some stuff on my website or off of my computer. And you're like, what are you talking about? Prawn? Can't say the word.
No,
Google will pick it up.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Yes. And you said, no, unless you consider
PoddiMouths prawn.
To be prawn. Yes. That's funny. Yeah, which I do. And then I spit out my breakfast. That's great. Thank you.
He almost died.
But
that's the funniest thing. It was.
Well,
it was, and it's not going to happen again on this podcast.
No,
not today,
probably,
for me at least.
No laughter for anybody, but I'm glad we got the laughter out of the way.
Yeah.
Did you see any come out my nose? I don't think came out my nose.
It's still slowly coming out. It'll come out all fully by the time we hit the end of the podcast.
I told you what Mom calls you got a bat in the cave, when you have a
booger
in your nose.
That.
Yeah,
I like that.
She used to call them fellas.
Fellas.
Hey, you got a fella there. And so I've told my friends and family this, of course, and so they know. Anytime you say, "Hey, fella, how you doing?" and they're all like this. You're talking because this is what Grandma Lois would. She would point to the fellas in your nose.
It's better than calling someone a booger.
I would say.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if she. When you say, "Hey, fellas, how are you?" I don't think there's anything detrimental about that inherently.
No,
unless it's coming from my mom, which clearly she means they're boogers.
Hey, Mom.
I don't know. Yeah,
sorry, Mom.
I called Mom this morning, and she sounds so good. She's
good.
She is doing awesome.
It must be that crisp, cool Wisconsin air.
Yeah.
Unlike you, who's suffering.
It's the crisp, cool Wisconsin air conditioning, probably is what it is.
Oh, that's right. She's in Florida, isn't she?
No. She's just inside the facility that she doesn't leave much.
I thought you said she went down to Florida. She was just kind of a snowbird, was she not?
No, not at 95. You're not really doing a lot of snowbirding.
Well, you never know
at that age. But we came down. Oh gosh, it's probably been 3 years ago now. She wanted to treat the family, and she rented a place in Siesta Key, which is, a block of the Gulf. And it was a high dollar place. I mean, 5 or 6 bedrooms, and let's just say it wasn't inexpensive. And she footed the bill, and she invited everybody. Well, at various times, there were so many people there. To get her down there, though, Lisa and I took her. Or went with her, and I've got her tickets through Atlanta because there's nothing direct to Sarasota, and it was just I wheelchaired it for her, and it was great. It was a real pain, and it was hard.
But was it for her?
No, not for us. It was hard on her. It was really not bad for us. We just figured out that when you fly into Atlanta, when you connect through Atlanta, you push the wheelchair. Don't wait for somebody because it's nothing. It's not about tipping them. Well, they. Did I mention I'm a million miler? Half of those are on wheelchairs.
Ding.
Ding on wheelchairs. Oh, it's way over here. I can't reach it. Yes, I can.
But anyway. Hey, she's still up and about, moving around. Les Paul.
She is.
Les Paul was playing gigs well into his 90s. I mean, right up to like 2 weeks before he died.
Amazing guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? And people like that, and frankly for my mom too, if they stay busy, if they stay engaged, sure, she's sharp as a tack still today. If they stay engaged, so was Les Paul. If they stay engaged, they'll who knows?
I'm 45 years old, and I'm definitely not sharp as a tack.
Well, no, and you just, I see you wandering off mindlessly sometimes.
Oh, sometimes? All the time. Speaking of, Peyton saw this ad on TikTok the other day, because that's our pre-bed routine. We spend about 5 minutes just kind of doom scrolling on TikTok, and there was an ad
scrolling. I love that.
It was an ad for a t-shirt and hat. Instead of AC/DC, a bat out of hell, it says AC/DC. Oh, oh shoot, I forgot I'm going to look it up really quick.
Meatloaf.
So
Meatloaf bat out of hell.
It's not Meatloaf, it's AC/DC, but there's there's actually an album that they put under it. Hold your horses, John.
This would be a lot funnier if you were ready to do this.
ADHD. So AC/DC Highway. It says Highway to hell. That's so.
Except it's ADHD.
ADHD. Highway to look, a squirrel.
Oh, love it.
So
I
you
really
can see
do like that.
the hat.
Like it. Let me see. Oh, that's great. Love it.
So
Love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that for because we just died laughing.
That's
because it's so
really
true.
funny. Yeah, that's really funny. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, the 45, I'm clueless, but something I was thinking about this morning, and you and I were talking about it before we got on the podcast, was this was a milestone for me, and it just kind of popped into my head. This year equals for me 1 year more, or how do I want to say this? 1 year
longer.
I have spent 1 year longer not living in the state of Minnesota or not being a Minnesota resident than I have been being a Minnesota resident. And that to me was it almost made me feel extremely old and kind of mind blowing. It really is.
Extremely old.
Yeah.
You're a youthful man. As long as you keep podcasting with me, you're always going to be younger. So you might as well
exactly.
keep it up. Yeah,
exactly. So I just can't podcast with anyone else who's younger.
Yeah, I know there are a whole bunch of young whippersnappers who are dying to podcast with you.
With me, especially.
Yeah. Tell them, forget it. There is no way that's going to happen. Well, and we talked about that, and you said something about Jen talking about staying in your place. Talk about that a little bit.
We've been talking about selling the house just because we've got so much equity in it, and plus, to be perfectly frank, with her business and with trying to keep it afloat up to this point, and she's doing much better with it, and hopefully there's light ahead in the tunnel for the business itself. But we have a lot of debt that we could easily take care of. Was that flashing on your end, the light?
It was your side. Yeah,
I know it was my side, but it was
lightning.
Weird. No.
Oh,
no, nothing flickered in the house. Anyway,
you say that now.
Unless Peyton was downstairs flicking my light on and off, that could have
been. Which would be funny.
Yeah,
and that's what funny. I paid her to do, so that's fine.
Right,
I'm glad to see she's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great ESP. She lost her phone. She got in trouble, so she doesn't have her phone, so she couldn't have texted her. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Yeah. But so we it would take care of a lot, and we obviously you and I have talked about this before because it could take care of a lot of our debt, and we could be completely debt free and all that stuff. But where would we go?
How do you replace your house? That's exactly right.
Because Nashville ain't a cheap place.
No, and for sure.
With the business, I mean, the whole point to that would just be to level everything out with the business. We would we'd still have to be in this area, so it's not like we could move back out of town.
But aside from that. But aside from the business,
going to the new high school, and
there is that, and that's really the biggest thing you worry about with kids. And what kind of started this, I think, Nick, was when I was talking about how we moved. Lisa and I have moved so many times, but primarily when we didn't have kids, because then it's kind of an adventure if you do it right. Or so what? You're an idiot, and you go, at least I didn't impact anybody other than us,
right?
But that is it. It's. You think about kids that move all the time. And I know there are a lot of Army brats, and they move from place to place. And it's not that it can't be done. It's just that kids feeling like they have a home base.
Yeah.
There's something to that.
Yeah. And that's the thing that Jen is struggling with. And I understand. I completely understand. Both of us have moved a lot. So we've been in this house now for, I said 7, so we've been in for 7 years, but we're going on our 8th year in this house, I believe. And so we've been in here for quite a long time. For us, this is the longest I think I've ever lived in a house. Maybe with the exception, as you and I were talking before, maybe with the exception of my very first house that I remember as a kid. I think I'm hitting that number about the same, 7 or 8 years. But that's the longest I've ever lived in a house. And so Jen's argument is she wants a house that Peyton feels is the house she grew up in. Well, if I think about it, the last house, which was one of the shortest time spans I've ever lived in a house. Now, my parents owned it for a lot longer than that, but because I moved out. But the last house I lived in, that's my home. That's my house. That's the one I think of. If someone asked me, and I was having this conversation with someone else too. I was born in a small town in Minnesota called Mora, Mora. I lived there for 14 years, about 14 years of my life. Moved different houses there, but 14 years of my life in that one small town. And then I moved to Anoka, Minnesota
Mhm.
from 14 to 19.
Mhm.
So not a very long span of time. 15 to 19. I guess it was 15 because I remember I got my driver's permit when I was still in Mora. So anyway, 15 to 19. And then I moved out.
Mhm.
But that's if you were to ask me where I'm from in Minnesota, I'd say Anoka. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say Mora, even though I
Interesting.
spent the bulk of my life there.
Well, and I wonder, it'd be interesting to talk to my son, to talk to Michael and ask him what he considered to be his hometown. I would say probably Lake Mills because we were there last before he got married.
Mhm.
But he's lived in Orlando and Chicago and Michigan and Wisconsin. And so, a few years in each. I think
Yeah.
Chicago was probably the longest, but not, I mean, we were in two different houses, I think two different places when he was in Illinois. So anyway, it's interesting how it all works out. But our last move to Wisconsin when he was a kid, he was in 8th grade.
Mhm.
And, high school is a pretty critical time with
Yeah.
kids. And
Yeah.
to get to that point, and this is where I believe what Jen's saying, I think it's important to have that continuity in high school, especially in middle school. You can make an argument for that too.
Right.
But with that they go to have the friends that they create. And for Michael, they were lifetime friends, which I give him
Mhm.
credit for. You stick with those people. I have, a couple I can pick up the phone and call, obviously,
Yeah, me too.
we were in a small school. But
Yeah.
but for him, just building those core relationships, I think is the biggest reason, along with the house. And on
Yeah.
that, just real quickly, I was my first 18 years before I went to school. We lived in the same house in a
Mhm.
small town in Wisconsin, and you, you, I mean, my folks bought it for I think $10,000 back when they bought it.
Yeah.
Many many years ago. I think their mortgage payment, and it was killing them, was $100 a month.
Oh,
And
wow.
I know. And so anyway, that was our house, that was our home. And then mom, after a couple of husbands, they both passed away. She married another guy, and they built a house, their dream home.
Mhm.
And that was a nice one too. And they were in that for I think 15 years for mom, and he had passed away too. But when she moved out of that area, we're like, okay, where do we go now? I mean, even now, today, we go, oh, well, let's get together. Where? Because it's not your hometown anymore
Right.
if you don't have a place to go.
Yeah.
Or that's how it feels. Anyhow.
No, I get that. After my mom passed away, my dad lives in North Dakota now. I don't consider that home. I love
Right.
going out there, but I don't
Yep.
consider it home.
Yeah, it's visiting. That's
and
right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I haven't been back to Anoka since my mom died in 2010.
Mhm.
There's just been no reason to. But that is, if you were to ask me, what's your hometown? It would be Anoka.
Did you graduate from high school in
Anoka
Anoka
High School? Yes,
okay,
I did.
all right. Well, I think that has something to do with it, don't you?
I agree. Yes, 100%. But that's the other thing. We're talking about two different things, because I 100% agree with you on the high school thing. But we're not. I'm not talking about if we sell this house, moving out of Bellevue, which is where the part of Nashville that we live in is the Bellevue neighborhood, Bellevue, whatever, Hamlet.
Yeah.
Because she wants to go to high school here. She wants to go to James Lawson, and we're all supportive of that. And that's where we want her to go to school. I'm just saying the house. And because we're not tied to this neighborhood. And quite honestly, this house is too big for us. It's way too big for us. And it's, and here's the other thing. If we really dive into the psychology of it, restating the fact that I've been in this house longer than I've been in pretty much any other house I've ever lived in, I'm kind of itchy.
Yeah. Well,
I don't like it.
Let me mirror you for a second, because when we sold our house in Wisconsin, we moved 10 miles away, if that. It was probably closer to 8, because I was convinced that house that we were in was at the top of the market. And we sold it and got more than we thought we would get. And I'm like, yes. Well, we bought a condo, and this will be great. And think of the money we pocketed, and free and clear and everything. And excuse me. And then we found out that the people who bought it they sold it a year and a half later for $100,000 more than they bought it from them, and
Yep.
didn't do any. I shouldn't say they did. I think they did a roof and did some HVAC work, but other than
Yeah.
that, pretty funny.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
Yes, and I don't think that's the other part of it. I don't think we've hit the top of the market here at all. Not in Nashville. It's still growing. There's still some really big things happening. Oracle's still coming. They're still building. The new stadium's going in. We're getting a Major League Baseball team.
You're smart to think of it that way, because it's still in transition. Nashville has been transitioning for how long now?
Yeah. And you know, the nice thing about where we are in that transition is we don't have to guess where the peak is, because the peak is so high for us because of the length of time, and two, how quickly everything's changing, that we could hit the peak and it could start going down, and we could still make a good return on our investment by even when it's starting to go down.
It's when it trends, though, you know as well as I do, people are going to say, let's try to get out of here as fast as we can. Yeah. And then if interest rates don't cooperate, you'll be in a stitch like we have in Florida right now.
Yeah.
That we've got people who are suddenly putting their houses on the market thinking, oh, I missed it. And they're still trying to, because the rates are in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but there's still people that are still buying houses in Nashville, and more than, but the crazy thing is I couldn't go out and buy a condo right now in Nashville. No. For less than what I bought this house for.
Crazy, isn't it?
It's insane.
Yeah.
So if we were to go, we would have to go and rent. And it's the only way we could do that, which I'm not opposed to. But again, it's theory. It's trying to figure out what the best move is from a financial standpoint and from a family standpoint and all that stuff, because I don't know. I think the biggest problem I'm having is I'm just itchy. I've been here too long, and
I get that, especially for people like us who have moved so much.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of go, all right, well, why would I wait? Now I know we can do it now. But the truth is, as you have stated several times, but you can't replace it. You can't. Yeah. I mean, even downsizing, you can't replace it.
You can't. Nope. We can't downsize. We can't. I mean, the next thing I want to do, and Jen does not want to, so it probably won't happen. But the next thing I want to do is build. I've never built before. And I know all the horror stories. You have told me horror stories.
Yes, I have.
The only person I know that has built multiple times and not really had as bad of stories as everyone else, and that just could be his personality, is my dad. My dad has built now 3 houses, I think.
Wow. But he knows, and I think that's it. It's a learning curve, and unfortunately, it can be an expensive one. But he knows what to do and how to deal with builders and so on. Spec houses are one thing, and we built a spec house years ago, and didn't know anything. And the guy goes, "No, you can't do that. Whoops, you can't do that. You can't change that." And I, okay. And now I just go, we're going to. That's the second time. This is the third time I've done that in this particular.
Wow. I'm the one who's usually the potty mouth.
Well,
that's not DDI.
I didn't say anything, so the people listening.
That's true.
See, Bill, who's listening and walking, he has no idea that I just flipped off.
He has no idea.
Oh, I said it. So anyway.
Yeah, but everyone that watches video, including your wife now, who watches instead of listens,
she doesn't like to, though, because she sees her husband and she's like,
yeah, but she sees me.
Well, I know, but I tell her, look, that's the filter. That's why he looks so good.
It definitely is a filter. There is. I have 2 filters turned on. There's a filter in the system that we use and a filter on the camera in the computer.
You are so filtered. I honestly,
am filtered.
I looked, and every time you come on, I just go, wow, he should be a model.
Yeah, and then I show up at your house and like, who is that guy? I don't recognize him. Exactly. Exactly.
Not true.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you showed up at my house. It was great having you guys here.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to coming again. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. So anyway, so that's
hey, next time we can do it from the pool. That'd be even better.
Yeah, we get ourselves electrocuted.
Come when it's a little warmer. Well,
we'll be
just have Lisa holding a boom mic. It'll be fine.
There you go. Yeah, that works.
Thanks,
honey. Oh man. So anyway, we're recording on a very chilly, for me at least, Saturday morning, and right after I get done with this, well, maybe and there's a big maybe, but we were supposed to go camping tonight.
Oh,
which
you mentioned
is,
that.
Yeah, which is going to be very interesting. This is why we're doing it today, crammed into the morning, because the temperature tonight is going to be 16 degrees.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I don't have cold weather gear for everybody. I don't have cold weather. Peyton has a 20-degree bag. Jen and I have 30-degree bags. We have and we're going to talk about the numbers here in a minute, but so we have 30-degree bags, and Peyton has a 20-degree bag, and then we have liners that are 27-degree liners.
So how do they combine?
So that's the interesting thing. So
Okay,
when
I'll
you
be the
buy a
judge of
sleeping
that.
bag, for most of the time when you buy a sleeping bag and they give you that number, so ours, we'll use Jen's and mine because we have identical bags. It's a 30-degree bag. That just means it's 30-degree survivability, not 30-degree comfort level. So comfort level is also based on whether or not you sleep hot or sleep cold. I sleep hot, Jen sleeps cold. So for Jen, she's not going to be comfortable in that bag unless it's 50 degrees out. I'm probably going to be comfortable at 40, the lowest. So with
neither
that liner,
of you is going to be comfortable at 16, though.
No, not in the bag alone. So then you take the liner, and it's a 27-degree liner, which means it's probably comfortable at, for Jen, it would be 15 degrees. Did you hear that? That was Bonnie.
The puppy.
For Jen, it would be 15 degrees. For me, it would be probably 20.
Oh, so you subtract?
So you subtract the liner from, so
it.
if for me, let's just use my math.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be comfortable at 40 degrees in a 30-degree bag, that means I can reduce mine by 20 degrees and still be comfortable.
Yep.
So for me at 40, it'd be 30-20. So I would still be comfortable at 20 degrees in my liner. Now, you could argue that if you're wearing long underwear and then clothes and then you're sleeping in the bag, you should be fine. I probably would be. Jennifer is not going to be. Because the temperature is still going to be below that 20-degree mark. So Jen needs to be sleeping. Jen would be comfortable at maybe, I'm going to say just 25 degrees. She'll probably be comfortable at 25 degrees, but barely. So I would say 30 degrees she could be comfortable in her bag in that setup.
So
I could be comfortable at 20.
Out of curiosity, what is the inside temperature at the Marriott near your campground?
There is no Marriott near the campground.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Not the one we are going to, because we're going to go to Land Between the Lakes.
I see.
Anyway, so here's what I did. Because I knew it was going to be cold, and I knew that Peyton will be perfectly comfortable because she's got the liner. Bonnie will probably sleep with her, so she's got a little heater in there. Yep. So Peyton would be perfectly okay in that temperature. Jen and I would suffer at that temperature. Now, the following night, it's not going to be as bad. So the following night is not the issue. It's the first night that we would have the issue.
Yep.
So what I did is I went to Amazon and bought some 80% wool blankets because those are extremely warm. They're extremely durable. And even if we put it on top of our bags, or even if we put it under our bags, that should keep us, it should push us past that 10-degree mark.
You have cots, though, right?
We have cots, yeah.
Cots and pads.
Yep.
And so the wool blanket,
the wool blanket, and we have other blankets too. So
the thing is, and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You just don't want to be wrong,
right? That's well. Here's the thing. So I think we could, with what we have, because we have some other blankets, and we would bring stuff along with us to keep us warm. I think we could be passable. Well, no, liquor does the opposite. Actually, it makes you feel warm for a minute, but
thanks, teacher.
Actually, yeah,
whatever.
But that doesn't say I'm not. Doesn't mean I'm not bringing it. I'm just saying
I know damn well.
So anyway, it could be passable. So I ordered the blankets to make sure I would be confident that we could at least be comfortable tonight if the blankets came when they were supposed to come.
Oh,
the blankets were supposed to be here yesterday, and they're still not here. So
that happens
all of that,
a lot.
Yeah, all of that is still weighing on me, is whether or not we just want to risk it or not. Because this is not going to a campground. It's not. It's not that far away. It's an hour and a half away, but it is primitive camping. So you buy a permit and then you just go find a place in the woods and camp. That's the kind of camping we're going to do, like you would on BLM land, or Forest Service land. So anyway, blankets aren't here. So I'm really humming and hawing, but then Peyton wakes up this morning. Well, actually, before Peyton went to bed last night, she said, I think I'm getting sick. And then she woke up this morning, I'm sick. So Peyton's not feeling well. So we're trying to decide what level of not feeling well. Is it kind of getting allergies like John and just the sniffles, not feeling well? Or are you getting sick like Jen and I were the last couple of weeks? Sick.
Yeah.
So that right now, that's what we're deciding. So all of that long story to say, we actually haven't decided if we're going to go camping or not yet, because we have two factors that are working against us right now.
Do you build a fire outside the tent?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I take I have a gas fire pit, and we also will build a fire. So if we can't for some reason build a fire, like it's raining or we just, maybe it's dry out, then we have a portable propane fire that we take with us too. And
that's not something you keep on throughout the night if it's really cold, or
no, because we can't put that in the tent.
Right. Well, no. But I mean, can you have it close enough outside?
No, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't keep you warm enough.
And I know you'll be surprised by this, a YouTube guy that has an inflatable tent.
Yeah.
And it's big.
And he also has a stove,
wood burning stove. Yeah. Holy cats.
I've looked at those. I haven't looked at the inflatable tents because I think that would just be a bit much, but I have looked at the
expensive, I'm sure.
Yes, and expensive. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with the winter tents, because you can get a winter tent.
Yep.
Or you can get what they call a 4-season tent with the stove option, but they're thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, and we don't camp enough, and it's never usually this cold when we camp. So just for a 1, maybe 2 night where you would need it, it's not worth it. Now, if we were to move to Colorado and do a lot of winter camping or fall camping, I would invest in it in a heartbeat. But even at that, sense. To be perfectly honest, my goal is to get out. I want to get out of ground tents. I don't want to keep a ground tent. I'll always keep one. But
I'm trying to push you toward a potty pod, and I think that's the way you need to go.
That would be nice for Jen and Peyton. I am trying to get a rooftop tent. I'd be fine with a trailer with all the stuff in it and a rooftop tent.
Well, so this is what I've been looking at recently, because RVs in general are notorious for just being pieces of crap in terms of structural integrity. Yep. I mean, even if they have, the really good, the basis of an aluminum frame or steel frame or whatever it is, the walls are made of toilet paper and spit mostly,
Well, and if you want one, so I'm going to cut you off for just a second because the type of camping I like to do, you can't do in one of those. Because I like to go off the beaten path. I like to be in the middle of the woods. I don't want to go to a campground. I don't want to do any of that. So to get a camper that and a full on camper like you're talking about, it's $200,000.
Well, depending upon what level. I mean, there are levels at all of them, and you're right.
I'm talking about a full, you've got 2 beds, a full bathroom, kitchen,
so what I've
all that
seen
stuff.
Recently, a lot of is people who build out their own from a cargo trailer.
Right.
And they build their own. And because for me, it has to have all those things you just mentioned.
Yep.
A bathroom, a kitchen area somehow. And I like the fold down bed ideas, fold down from the wall.
Yep.
Because then you can pull in the Harley and use it as a toy hauler and still have the ramp. And I've seen the ramps with the stands that actually just fold down. So it's a deck in the back.
Yeah.
Now. And you watch some of these builds, it's incredible.
They're
way sturdier than anything you could ever buy.
Yep. I've looked at those and I've thought of that, because the other thing is we've gone back and forth about getting a truck instead of like trading in the Jeep and getting a truck, because when Jen does shows, she has to take it's called Marley, but it's big rolls of vinyl flooring and it's very heavy. Every time we move it, we have to go to rent a van.
Yep.
And so we're like, well, if we had a truck, we could do all this other camping stuff, but we could also, but the other alternative, because you know how much I love my Jeep, and I know we've had conversations about all the problems I've had, but I still love my Jeep and I want another one. The other option is to get a box trailer. But if we got a box trailer, why not use it for camping? That's the thought process too, but it's still not in the price range that I want it to be.
You can find them used, and of course, it's
Yeah.
really more of a time than it is a money. It's not cheap, but you can build those things out, and
Yeah.
you've got experience at that. The work you've done on houses and stuff,
Yeah.
you can build them out for probably. I've seen some of them for 10 grand or less.
Yeah.
And do you need air conditioning? Do you need most of
Yeah.
the ones I've seen are they're V's in the front,
Yep.
of the
And
trailer.
that's where the bathroom is. Yeah.
Yep, that's where the bathroom is. Some of some people go, oh no, here's my bathroom, and it's just like a John with a bucket over on
Which
the
is
side.
yeah.
No,
No.
I'm not
You want the
doing
full
that.
working.
I
Yeah.
want a bathroom. Why don't you shower if you want to, and
Yeah.
and a sink and shitter. So whatever. But that's if you can do that, and I really do. I've seen like there are bunks you can do too, bunk beds that both
Mhm.
fold down from one wall. Kind of
Yeah.
a cool idea.
Yeah.
But everything's a trade-off, however
Yeah.
you design them. But
Yeah,
they're
'cause
cool,
the-
and you can do them for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Without
Well, the biggest
spending too much.
problem for me with that, which is why we didn't, because you can get an off-road trailer for that as well with a rooftop tent, which is fine. Again, fine for me.
Sure.
Missing a few things. Obviously, you can't do any of the storage stuff, but it's the biggest issue I had was you can't convert those easily or inexpensively to an off-road trailer. So we run into the same
True.
problem we were just talking about with the campers.
True.
To be able to get it back to where I want to go. And I'm not talking about crazy things. I'm not talking about, going to Moab and doing the cliffhanger trail.
Yeah.
Not these big, I don't want to rock crawl, but
then you can do it easily. You can. You do a double axle and you do a lift kit and bigger wheels and tires. There's very little more that you have to do.
Yeah.
With one of
but
those.
that's what I'm saying is that's an expense.
Oh, it's not cheap. You're right.
Yeah.
Of course.
So by the time you build out that, you might as well have purchased one that's already done. That's kind of my point.
Well, yeah, except the one that's already done is not built as well. It's that's
depending on what you buy.
Wall. Well,
I'm talking about like a bean. Have you seen the beans? The bean trailers?
I have.
So I'm talking. Those are well built.
They're expensive. But they're also not one you can put the flooring in. And it's the teardrop sort of the bean, right? Isn't it?
The bean. That was the one that popped in my head.
Mm-hmm. The external kitchen, which I like that stuff. But again, everything's a trade-off.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no perfect solution for because my wife and daughter would probably rather the full-sized camper where it's got, the both the bathroom and the bidet.
Oh,
and,
yes.
They would be perfectly happy in that.
Yeah.
I'd be perfectly happy in a tent on top of the Jeep.
Yes.
So
you would.
The biggest difference, which we've talked about before, is the bathroom. I do like a bathroom. I won't.
You know what? If you don't have one, kind of what's the point?
Right.
Because that's really the beauty of it is if you're traveling and you want to, and this may be for longer camping trips or whatever, but if you want to pull off and go to a truck stop or whatever, you can park, you can go in, you can make some lunch, you can do your bit, whatever you need to do, take a little snooze, and then get back behind the wheel again. And that to me that's part of, what you're going to do. If you're going to go 10 miles away and camp, well, maybe you could just pull the trailer by hand.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It really just depends on what I use this a lot with a lot of things. What's your mission? It's the Jeep. Jeep is a good example. When I have a conversation about it, I'm like, it fits my personal mission. Does it fit my professional mission? No, that's not the right car for that. Does it fit the family mission? Probably. I mean, yes, and mine does because it's a 4-door and it's, it's electric and all that stuff. But it's pushing it on that one. But for me going out in the woods and camping and doing all that stuff, does it fit the mission? Absolutely, 100%.
Well, and it's versatility, and that's what you're talking about, especially in that case. It's how versatile is it, and how much does each of whatever you're choosing from, how much do they all meet the needs of my family and me? And so there's a little compromise, as we said, with everything. But is it fun? Are you enjoying it? And the answer to that, and that's the way it's always been. It's like with our F-150, I enjoy the truck. It rides better than any car I've owned, with maybe the exception of the big Cadillac. But you get tied into stuff because it makes sense for you. Is it perfect? No, it's sideways in my 3-car garage, for Pete's sake.
Yes, it is.
So it's not perfect, but yes, as you saw, as you witnessed. But anyway, but it's you got to justify it
Yeah.
based on what
And
makes the most sense.
And that's where I am now. I've got a year before the end of my lease.
Yep.
You know the problems. We've already discussed the problems. I
Yep.
really still want to buy it out. That's still my ultimate goal, is to figure out a way to fix it enough where I can buy it out.
You didn't say that a couple of weeks ago.
I know, but I sat on it and I thought about it, and I also had more conversations with the service manager at the dealership, he's a new guy there. So
good.
But at the same time, honestly, if I were to switch to a truck, full size or a midsize, would that fit my mission as much or better? And honestly, right now, it probably would fit my mission better, because it would work for the business, for Jen's business. It would work for our family, and I could still use it to go camping and do all that stuff.
Well, but if it's a business for work, though, then it becomes a fuel economy thing too.
Yeah.
A bigger truck. I know I don't get good mileage on mine. Now, on the flip side of that, my brother-in-law has a Dodge diesel pickup.
Yes. And that's
every bit as nice as mine on the inside and so on, and as big, which I was surprised by. But he's getting 32 miles to the gallon with a full-size pickup truck.
And that's probably what I would probably go to a Ram truck.
Yeah. Yeah. And the diesel that gets the mileage that you would be looking for. The EV stuff, I'm not going to go on a diatribe here, but it's funny. Whatever you read online, I do Google alerts for automotive, and I don't like it lately because it's always just hammering dealers on how bad they are. The best way to make sure EVs get in is if you get rid of all the dealers and have until you have a service problem, then what?
Right.
Then what? Wise guy. They think they know all about the reason dealers don't like it is because there's a lack of maintenance. No, that's not the reason, because there's still going to be maintenance on EVs. That's all there is to it. And so anyway,
and trust me,
it's just such a
on the plug-in hybrid, there's definitely,
as you well know,
we've been over that,
as you well know. Yes. And so I'm not saying they're a bad idea. It's just not, you don't have to go 100% all at once.
Right.
And some guy wrote in, 5 years from now, there are not going to be any ICE vehicles. And I'm going, you are an idiot. But these are uneducated people who don't understand the industry, don't understand the transportation business.
Yep.
And they just, if you don't do it, then you're anti-EV or anti-environment or anti-American or something. It's always something.
Always something.
Let the consumer decide, for peace sake.
It's really surprising to me that just the level of arguments that we get into. But I'm a big fan. I think that there is a place for the plug-in hybrid. I really do.
I enjoy. I always have. Yeah.
I mean, how many people? Well, I mean, there are plenty. There are at least 40,000. But there are plenty of people out there that can drive a Jeep Wrangler now that gets 30 miles to the gallon.
Yes.
I mean, who ever imagined the day that you could drive a large, not even just the old TJs, or not the 2-door, a 4-door. Heavy as hell, big tires, extra junk on it, and still get 30 miles to the gallon.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's pretty
crazy. So anyway, that's my little thing.
Well, I think it's good. I miss the early hybrids, the Chevy Volt. I think it was a brilliant vehicle, and they got rid of it because its life cycle was over. What? I never understood that, because it just made sense. The gas and electric motors, it had a decent range. It wasn't huge. It was like 30 miles or something that. But it combined and was such an effective power plant when used cooperatively.
Yeah. Well,
and that's our word of the day, cooperation.
I think cooperation is good.
Yes.
I don't do it very often.
Me either.
I think, and I could be wrong, but the way I understand it, even our nuclear subs are a electric, and they still have a diesel motor in it.
Yes.
So they're still, and now that diesel engine doesn't charge the battery, that's where the nuclear power comes in. But
hold on,
I know. I knew you were going to say that. Shut up.
No,
I don't care. I don't care.
NUCLEAR. Nuclear.
John, it's like living in Nashville or Nashville.
Nashville.
I live in Nashville.
It's just saying it differently.
Or Louisville.
That's all.
Do you live in Louisville or do you live in Louisville?
No,
it's the same thing. It's the
Nolans.
same thing. Nolans, that's right.
Yeah.
Nolans.
How do you spell that?
Baton Rouge.
No. That I know the reason you say it that way is because you want to be like George Bush Jr., like W. And that's fine because he could never say nuclear either.
Yeah.
And it's a
I
nuclear.
can say it, I just don't want to.
Which does make it better. I will grant you that.
Yeah, I think so.
And certainly
Anyway,
yes.
we went down a crazy rabbit hole there. What
That's
rabbit hole?
good.
We've got like 5 more minutes. What other rabbit hole do you want to go down?
Oh my
in that time?
gosh!
What else did we talk about when we started?
Wow, nothing. What else did we talk about? Anything. We started. I was eating breakfast, and I'm sure I still have some of my teeth.
That's coming out your nose.
Lisa made a lovely lemon chicken a couple nights ago.
Okay.
And I asked her to do an extra chicken breast, which she did, and they were awesome. I am a big fan. Lemony stuff, just the acid really makes a huge difference in a lot of foods, as you know.
Yeah.
And so saved it, and I threw a couple eggs with it, and that was my breakfast.
Nice.
Oh, and maybe some blue cheese dressing that came with pizza that we had.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
We had friends over.
Peyton and I had tater tot casserole / hot dish.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
today.
yes.
Is it hot dish in Wisconsin or is it casserole?
It's. I think it goes either direction. And people always say bubbler versus water fountain.
Yeah.
We said both. So I don't think anybody is all in with either of those, hot dish or casserole. My grandma made goulash and everything.
Goulash.
Everything
was goulash.
Everything was pretty much goulash. And so,
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I remember someone calling it goulash too, but it was. I still slip up and say hot dish. It's the one thing I've gotten
sure
over the pop versus soda thing. Well, it's got. I grew up saying pop.
Yep, me too.
Since I've lived southern in this both south of Minnesota and in the southern states, because I've done both. I was still in the Midwest, but outside of the upper Midwest, it's soda.
Yeah.
So I always refer to it as soda unless I'm home, and then it's pop.
Yeah.
But down here at hot dish and casserole, it's still hot dish.
Yeah.
So I make Peyton's favorite is tater tot hot dish, and I make the tater tot hot dish is kind of a mashup of a tater tot and a green bean hot dish. So it's a tater tot green bean hot dish
without no protein in it, no meat.
Oh yeah, there's meat in it.
Oh, okay. What do you put
always in it? Hamburger,
ground chuck, or ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So anyway, that's because if we do go camping, we got to clean out the fridge, and that was not going to last much longer because that was a couple of nights ago. So
that's sort of what I do anytime I make my own breakfast or lunch or whatever. It's a clean out the fridge, whatever it is, because I don't care. I'll just make some crap together that. Oh, look at this! There's
add a little salt, a little pepper. It's great.
It's always going to be good. Yeah, I will eat just about anything that's in there. So yeah. And if I don't, then what's it doing in my damn fridge in the first place?
Exactly. Well, so that's a great rabbit hole to go down, because here's the thing this is where Jen and I get into a lot of arguments, and there's stress between us. If something is left over and it's not eaten by the next night, it goes in the garbage.
Oh, you wimp.
I just don't know. There's no reason to stay one more day in the. Depending on what it is, there are some exceptions, but very few exceptions. It's
a week for me.
Really? No. It's Jennifer.
For Pete's sake.
Jennifer will let it go a week or more.
She's fine.
But there is plenty of stuff in our fridge that's still mold. It's starting to grow its own mold. Yeah.
Yeah. That I won't. I will go in and throw that crap out. But you got to start from that. I mean, if it's truly a leftover, like your tater tot casserole, let's say, hot dish. Sorry, like that. That's a week at least. Yeah, in the fridge.
It's not going to be a week for me. It's going to be 2 or 3 days, maybe.
Well, it's not going to last a week, probably, because it's delicious. So you're going to be in there.
That's kind of my point. Is if I make leftovers, I used to, when I lived by myself, I would make one dish on whatever day it was. It didn't have to be a weekend, but I would make one dish, and that dish would be my dinner that night. Then the next day would be my lunch and my dinner, and then my lunch and my dinner.
See, I could do that. Guys can do that. Women,
my wife and daughter cannot.
Lisa will not. Yeah. She doesn't play that game.
Yeah. So that's why for me, leftovers have to be gone, because that's the whole point of a leftover. Is it's supposed to be eaten later, not not, oh, let's just keep it until we feel hungry and that's what we have a hankering for. No.
Don't you usually end up though with you have, and for us it's usually dinner because we are kind of on our own for breakfast and lunch. I often skip lunch because I'll eat a late breakfast.
I usually skip breakfast and I snack for lunch.
Okay, and that's fine if that works for you. And I don't judge about any of that, but you do a nice dinner then because it's the two of you or three of you together. Nice dinner, and then you go, oh man, we got leftovers from 3 nights in a row. Yeah. And okay, I need to get to work on this. And
we have a leftover
make an
night.
Omelet with something, or have a leftover night or whatever. And so I'm with you. I don't like it to go long, and if it's a meal type thing that we're saving, then that's fine. Then it should be gone in a few days. And you're right. If it's not, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. So. I've learned to stretch it a little bit more, but I think a lot of that was exactly what you're saying is it should be gone. And it's probably, I don't like things sitting more than a couple of days because that's my mentality is it should have been gone. It should have been gone by now.
And that's not wrong. I guess I can see that. I thought you were talking about spoilage and so on. And
well, we still get that because I will not eat it past 2 days. And then if no one else is eating it, then it just goes bad, which bothers me even more.
Well, then you need to suck it up and start eating more meals.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
Yep. I'm already everything in the fridge is right here.
Exactly. Yeah. What I really want to do is get a big freezer, and then anytime we do have leftovers, I want to get a vacuum seal it all, put it in the freezer. That to me would be better.
I get that, and here's the problem. We had a vacuum sealer, and I thought, okay, because I was big on let's buy some nice steaks and do it and get them in, and we did, and every one of them started, slowly opening up. The air got in there somehow. And I'm going,
really?
What in the hell? And I bought all the bags, the special bags, and the damn thing did not work well and out. So we haven't had one for a few years now. And we do that with leftovers. We'll freeze them and then we forget about them. And they just effing sit in the freezer.
Do have
there are only 2 of us.
Right.
Anyway.
I can see that.
If I remember, we'll thaw them out, or I'll just do it when Lisa's asleep and thaw it out. And where did that come from? And then I'll eat it all up.
Oh, this is so good. It's only a little freezer burn.
We should make this more often.
Well, John,
on that note,
let's let our listener head up to PoddiMouths.com so they can check out our leftovers.
Yes.
When it comes to all of our past episodes.
Nicely done. Well played.
I'm a master of segues and not the rideable ones.
You should try one of them. Have you ridden on one?
I have not, actually.
No, I haven't either. We should do that.
We should do a podcast from segways, jumping into the pool. Done and done.
Yeah. No, I think it's Dumb and Dumber. That's already been done. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, hey, watch this dick. Yeah, splash. Probably not good.
Well, John, you have a lovely weekend. Hopefully we end up going camping and I can send you lots of fun pictures of, bare woods because there aren't any leaves on the trees and it's cold.
I would look forward to seeing that. And I hope you guys, if you do, you stay plenty warm, and hope Peyton feels better.
Thank you. I'll let her know.
And if you don't go, send me pictures of you playing Monopoly or something like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna pretend we're camping because if I don't go, I'm going out in the backyard and I'm setting a fire in the lawn.
I like it. I think. Yeah. Well, and you can just don't set it on one of the paths that looks so awesome.
Yeah, I'll do it definitely on the open area. Hey, maybe it'll grow some grass. Who knows?
Ding.
Ding. All right, everybody. You have a great day. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah.